Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for attending another session of Chief Architect Training. Today we're going to be going over layouts. Okay, I want to start by, we're going to go to the preferences. And before we do any layouts, this is our default toolbar. Okay, I want to switch the toolbar. So I'm going to go to Tools, Toolbar, Customize, and go to Configure. And I'm going to go to Extend Tool. This way I won't have to search and try to hunt and find the commands, some of the commands that I'm going to be showing you. So we'll say Switch To, and this will give me a whole new set of, basically it puts almost every command that's available up here on a button. So let's go to Preferences, and under the General tab, New Plans, this is where our default locations for our templates are. There's a Plan Default and a Layout Default. Now myself, I generally have the Confirm one set for that, so that whenever I go to File and New Layout, this is the one that always opens. Okay, and this is the one I use all the time. So that's the one obviously I want to use and set in there. Close this down. Out of the box, it's going to say, it should say Profile Layout. So let's go ahead and switch to that one, and we'll go to File, New Layout, and we'll see what this one looks like. You can use this one. You can start from this one. I don't recommend it because there's a lot of things you basically have to start from scratch, and I'll show you why here in a minute. There's also if you go in here under layout borders, there's also ones that they have set for you now. Obviously we don't want metric, so we'll do the imperial. Several different sheet sizes. I'll go ahead and open up the 8.5 by 11. There's one that's you can use that to start if you want, I guess. There's also 11 by 17, a couple different styles. This one might be a nice one to use or to start with. Okay. Now the reason I keep closing them down is because you can only have one layout open at a time. So let me go back and open up that one that I set. This is the one that's standard out of the box. Now you can see these little light lines here dividing the sheet up. What's that showing you? This is a 24 by 36 piece of paper, and it's going to print out, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. What would happen if you printed that? It would print it out on 15 pieces of 8.5 by 11. Obviously, that's not very efficient. You're probably not going to want to do that. So, we go to File, and go to Print, and go to Page Setup. This is where we set all our. This is where we have all our settings for. We'll set the sheet size. We'll set the printer paper, what it's going to print to, and the whole 9 yards. Start off the top here under Printer. More than likely, most people don't have the full version of Adobe. What you're going to see here is whatever printers that you have installed on your computer. In other words, this is our engineering printer, so you can use that. And the difference is when you select the printer paper size, depending on what printer you have, you'll have different options for sheet sizes. Here you have, obviously, you have legal, letter, and tabloid, which is 11 by 17, which is what we use here. If I switch it back to the Adobe, you can see now here I have a different set of sheet sizes. So depending on what printer you're using, it's going to affect the sheet sizes that you can print to. Now, what I recommend, if you're going to use the layouts, which I definitely recommend using the layouts to especially if you're going to email people plans. Even if you're going to print them out, I recommend printing them to Adobe file, because you can always print from Adobe file and you can email an Adobe file. Okay, so having said that, if you don't have the full version of Adobe, Chief offers what they call a Adobe Driver, and this is one I have installed here. It's called Cute PDF. And to find that, if you go up to your help, go to download PDF printer driver, it'll take you to Chief's website, and right here under PDF you can see you can download the reader, which probably most people already have that downloaded. And it also has the two different writers. It has the Cute and the PDF 995. It's really no difference between the two. It's I just downloaded the first one. It doesn't really matter which one you download, and maybe you already have one of those downloaded. In which case, if you do, when you go to set up the page, under print page setup, it'll show up here. Okay, so I downloaded the Cute PDF, so that's showing it there. Anyways, I'm going to switch back to my Adobe because that's what I print to. I save the files as Adobe's. Now, to change what we want to print it to, we'll go to tabloid, and you can see now it's going to print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's going to print on 8 different sizes. Well, what we really want to set is the drawing sheet, and that is this border right here. This is called the sheet. And if you happen to not see that, if it looks like this, that means your show sheet is turned off. So if you just turn that back on, you'll see your sheet size. So let's go back into page setup, and we can now change this to 11 by 17. You see it's still going to print to 2 different sizes, or 2 pages. Why is that? Because we have tabloid and tabloid. If you look here under orientation, one set to portrait and one set to landscape. So if we set the printer paper to landscape, now we'll have one sheet of paper that it's going to print out. And if you don't have a printer that prints 11 by 17, that's fine. You can still save your PDFs that size, and you can always print it out to an 8.5 by 11 or legal or whatever the case may be. Number 4 here is set drawing scale. Leave that alone. And the line weight, we want to leave that alone. So I'm going to say OK. Now, see what happened? It actually changed the drawing sheet. Okay, so what we'd have to do is go ahead and delete all this and start from scratch. So I'm going to close this down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Preferences, and I'm going to clear this out. Just going to get rid of it. Say OK. Now if I go to File, New Layout, what it's going to do is it's going to open up a blank one. So now I can set this up any way I want. I don't have to worry about deleting stuff here and deleting it, So I'll just quickly go to Print, Page Setup, and just reset everything. So the printer I want to be Adobe. My paper size I want to be tabloid, which is 11 by 17, and my sheet size I want to be 11 by 17. I want them both to be landscaped. And I'll leave these 2 settings alone. Say OK. There's my 11 by 17 sheet. Okay? Any questions on all that so far? Okay? What I want to do now is I want to create a border, boxes that I can put my names in, maybe a box that I can put a logo in. Basically what I'm doing is I'm going to recreate the layout that is available for you when you download the templates. And again, you can set this up any way you want. You don't have to do it the way I do it, but I'm just going to show you how to do it, so then you can go from there and choose which way you do it. What I want to do is start. I want to use my box tools. And you see how this is snapping to that grid? I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, grid snaps. This way it won't snap to that. And I'm just going to set my border around the page to 1/4 of an inch. Because most printers will not print out to the edge of the paper. So we want to have a border there. And I'm just going to make it 1/4 inch all the way around. And what I'm doing is I'm selecting the edge, select the dimension, and type it in 0.25. And we'll scroll down here to the bottom and do the same. Okay. So this is going to be our outside border. Let's say, excuse me. Let's say we want our border to be a thicker line than the rest of the templates. If we double click on the border and open it up under the line style, here we can change the style. We could make it dashed if we wanted, which I seriously doubt we want to do that, but we could if we wanted. Under line weight, I'm going to type in 48. And you can see, as long as I have my line weights turned on, now I usually leave mine turned off for normal purposes, but for this case, we're setting this template up, so we're going to want to see those. So I'm going to go ahead and turn those on. You can see the difference in the line. Okay, this will be what actually prints. I usually have it turned off when I'm drawing, just so it makes it easier to see things, I think. But for this case, again, we'll leave it turned on for now. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to create a drawing field inside this. So the reason I went to my Alt tabs is so I have these commands up here. This is default, and this is a concentric. And I'll show you what this does. If I double click on this, it'll bring up my Edit Behaviors box, which is what these tabs are. The same here. You have your default, which is this one, your fillet, which is this one, and this one is concentric. Now what I want to do is I want to make a copy of this box, and I want to make it a little smaller. So I'm going to type in 1/8 of an inch. Now I'll select my box and I'll say copy, and as long as I grab this corner, you see as I drag it, it'll make a copy, but it makes it 1/8 of an inch away. Okay, it goes 1/8 of an inch at a time, I should say. So there's my inside box. Now all I need to do here is make sure I go back to my default. If you're ever doing a drawing and stuff is acting goofy, probably because you have concentric turned on. So I want to pull this up a little bit, and we'll just make that. And again, you don't have to be precise like I'm doing. I mean, you can just draw it up to whatever looks good for you. But that'll be my drawing. That'll be where I put either my floor plan, maybe my elevations, my rendering picture, whatever I'm putting on that sheet. That's where that'll go. Okay, now let's say I want to dress this up a little bit. Maybe I want to put corners on it, or I want to round it off. I select on this edge. Down here on my edit toolbar, I have fillet and chamfer. If I click the fillet, click it twice, it comes up with the fillet chamfer box. And here I can type in the radius or the chamfer distance if I wanted to put a chamfer on it. But I'm going to go ahead and put a radius on it, so we'll just say 1/8 of an inch. Say OK, select that edge, and there's my radius. I can do the same here, and just go around and put it on all 4 corners. And since this edge is already selected, I should not have to select that edge again. I can just go ahead and select fillet and pick that edge, and it'll automatically put it in for me. Okay? Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my boxes down here. But before I go any farther, I want to point something out here. Right now, I'm on page 1. Okay? And I did this purposely so hopefully you don't make the same mistake. If I go to page 2, 3, 4, and so on, it's blank. I'm thinking, well, am I going to have to create this on every page? No. What we should be doing, and I'll go ahead and select this one, hold Shift and select this one, and I'm going to hit Control X and I'm going to cut it so it gets rid of it. I'm going to go down to page 0. I'm going to hit Control, Alt, and V, which is copy and paste in place, which is a real useful tool. You can see it put exactly what I did and it put it right in the exact same spot it was before. So Control X is cut, Control C is copy, and you could do Control V and paste it, but then you have to position it. If you hit Control Alt V, it'll copy and paste in place. Now when we go up through the sheets, you can see there's our border on every sheet. Whereas if I put a box or something on page 1, maybe you put a box on page 2, those boxes only show up on those pages. Okay? So whatever you create on an individual page will only show up on that page. Whatever you create on layer on page 0 will show up on every page. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of these boxes here. Let's go back down to page 0. And I'm just going to start putting a couple boxes in here. And as long as my snaps are all turned on, which are over here, I can grab this edge and just come up and snap it right to that line. That way it'll be lined up there. I'm going to make it 1 inch tall. And if I select this edge, and I know I made that 1 inch and 1/8, so if I put a 16th between them, it'll be spaced evenly. If I select this dimension and say 1/16, these two little arrows here, one is move the edge. If I hit that, it would just move the edge and it would just change the inch. If I select this one, it'll move the entire object. Now it didn't move it yet until I actually click into the space. Then what it did is it left this, or it kept this 1 inch, and it moved the entire object up. Okay, and again, you can see our line weights. Maybe I want to make this one a little bolder, but maybe I don't want it to be quite as bold as the border. So we'll try 36 on this one, see what that looks like. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and resize these real quick. And I know what these are because I measured my template before. Again, you don't necessarily need to be real concerned with having all these dimensions being exact. You can make it whatever you want and make it work for yourself. I'm just going to copy this over, and I'm going to keep my 1/16 consistent. And this I'll go ahead and just move the edge. That's fine. And now I can pick this edge and resize it to what I want. Go ahead and copy this one over also. Select that edge. Make that a 16th. I'll make this 3. I'm going to copy this one over. Again, my 16th. And for whatever reason, I made this 7/8. 4 7/8. Take this and copy this over here. Oops. Keep my spacing the same, 16th. And now the last one, I can just line this up with that edge and keep my spacing the same, a 16th. And now we have some blocks that I can put some information in. Okay, let's start out with putting some text in. Let's start with this box. I'm just going to use my line tool. And I'm going to put a couple lines in here. And I know these are 1/4 of an inch. So I'll go ahead and space them 1/4 of an inch. That one's already good, and that one's good. Okay, this is going to be my for my builder, customer, and RC rep info. Now again, if I wanted to put radiuses on this, I could, and that's how the template is. But let me go ahead and just put a chamfer on this, just so you can see how that works. I'll go ahead and make that a 1/16 of an inch. And keep in mind, these dimensions here, these are all real dimensions. In other words, when I say that's going to be an inch, if you print this out on an 11 by 17 paper, that's going to be an inch. Now, obviously, if you print it out a smaller piece of paper, it'll be different because it has to scale it down to that size. But there you can see we can put borders on it, or we can put corners on it. I'm not going to do all of them. I'll just show you how you can do that. Next thing we want to do is come to our text tools and use the rich text, and we're just going to draw a window. And now we can put in here, this will be, we can select our font first, which I like to use the, I'm going to use the Chief Blueprint as soon as I find it. Again, you can pick whatever font you want. And we're probably going to have to change the text size once we get it in there so it fits. Yeah, you can see that's going to be a little too big. So we have to highlight the word and then change the font size. There, that'll make it a little smaller. And then we can, when I want to move it, it always wants to move in a straight line, either up or down, right or left. If I hit Control, I can move it any way I want it. It also won't snap to anything. So once I have it where I want it, there's my builder. I can also probably going to want to make the color the same as the border. So I'm going to see, it says layer color text. We actually have to go up here to the layers and text and change it to black. Or you can make it whatever color you want. Now our text is black. Okay, now once I have that, I can just make copies of this. Copy it. Now if I use my point-to-point move tool, if I snap it on the end of this line and then snap it to the end of this line, it'll move it down and it'll put it in the same orientation as this one. And this one I want to be customer. Okay. Do the same here. Use the point to point. And I don't think that actually snapped to the edge of the window box. But we can just move it down. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it looks right. This one I want to say RC rep, and copy this one down again. Yep. Sometimes it doesn't snap where you want it to. That's fine. And this one I'll say state. Now, if you ever opened up that template, you can see these fields are blank. There's two different ways you can do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'll just copy this over. And I want to open this up, and I'm going to change it to justify right, or align right, which means anything I put in here the text will go this way. And I'll probably also have to increase my window size. Let's say I could actually leave that box there and leave it blank and type in my builder, or they have what they call macros. And this is a nice tool. if I click on macro and say global, excuse me, go to contact and go to client. Maybe I'll type in company for this, use company for this one. And I also have to get rid of the Ritz-Craft text, or that will also show up. But you can see now it's blank. I'm going to go ahead and copy this down. And I want to try to center it on the... This one I'll just double click and open up, and maybe I want this one to be, well, this says customer, so I'm going to go to client name. Pick it again. And this one for the rep tool, for the RC rep, I usually just type in whoever it is. Let's just say Judd. And again, you see how the text is over there to the left? We want it to be justified right, so that way it shows up over there. And again, that one also. And for this one, we'll copy it down. And under the macro, we'll say state. Okay, now you're thinking, well, how am I going to get that information in there? Once you save this template, it'll save it as blank. But all you need to do is go to Tools, Project Information, Client Information, and you can fill all your client's information out right here. And anywhere where you have a macro that has this information, it will automatically show up. So let's say the name is, I'll just use Smith. Not Smith, not Smith. Company is Ritz-Craft. And I can fill out the phone numbers and all that, address, city, state, whatever information I want to use as a macro. I can, it'll show up. Okay, so there, all the information I filled out in there shows up. Now you might say, well, why not just type it in? Well, you can do that too. It all depends. But yet, in this case, you'd have to click on it, highlight it, and do each one individually. Whereas here, you go to Tools. You can fill out all the information at once. Click OK, and you're done. It shows up. Okay. Either way is fine. Any questions so far? Okay, I will do, I'm not going to fill out the entire title block. I think you guys, you get the gist of what I'm trying to do. I do want to do one more macro though. This one is, it's not a must, but it's probably the most common one if you're going to use any macro, put it that way, put it this way, this is the one you'll be using. Let's make the text 3/16. Let's see what that looks like. Now, for this macro, I want to where is it at? Under File Plan Info. Drawing page number. Where's my page number? There we go. Layout page number. And again, with this one we can use the center justify. And it's not big enough. Let's change the text to 3/8. And the font to. And again, you can use whatever font you want. Okay, but this is going to be our sheet size, or our page number, so excuse me. And I'll just copy this name over here. And we'll say sheet. Maybe number. And there we go. Now, with this macro, excuse me, as I go up through the pages, you can see it changes automatically for me. Okay? So if you're only going to use one macro, that's probably the one you'll use. Otherwise, I guess you could on each page put the page number, but the thing that's going to happen is if you delete a page or you add a page, now you're going to have to renumber your pages. So this is probably the best way. This is definitely the best way to do your page numbering. Now lastly, I want to show you, as far as the layout goes, you can also import pictures and stuff. Let's say you have a logo, maybe your company logo you want to incorporate in your page. If I go to File, go to Import, and I'm going to go to Import and browse to wherever your picture is. Now what I did is I took the picture that I'm going to use, and I actually put it here in the templates folder. Or no, I didn't. I'm sorry. This is where I recommend you put it. For this demonstration purposes, I have it saved on my desktop. But I would recommend putting it in the same folder that you're going to save the template. That way, the reason for that is if you have a picture in a certain file in a folder somewhere, and that file or folder gets moved, now when you open up your layout, it won't be able to find the picture, and it won't be able to show it. So you'll have to remap it all the time. So if you put it in the same folder as the layout that you're going to save it, then it's always going to be there. You're never going to move it because you just won. So let's go back to File and Import and Picture. Now again, mine's on the desktop, but okay, there it is. It's pretty large. If I try to resize it by using the square handles, it kind of distorts it. Okay, you can probably maybe get it back to what it's going to look like. But a better way is, let me delete that and import it again. Better way is if I grab this corner handle and I hold X down. As I resize it, see how it's resizing it uniformly? That's going to be the way I want to do this. So in my instance, I want this down here in this box. So I'm just going to grab that corner, hold the X as I drag, and it'll resize it uniformly until it fits in there nice. Okay? So now you have your company logo or whatever picture. Maybe you have a, I don't know, whatever you want to put in there, you can. Okay? Any questions? Okay, well that's pretty much the basics of setting up the page. Again, I didn't set the entire page up. I went over on how to do it and the different macros you can use. There's also I showed you the client stuff. Let's say you have your own information. You can do that also when you go to your macro. If you go to Contact Designer, which would be you can put your name in. I'll say OK. And you see how my name came up already? That's because under the designer information, I already have it filled out. Okay, so you can put all your own stuff in here, and then anytime you put that macro in somewhere, it'll show up with either your name, your company address, whatever the case may be. Then when you save it to the template, if you ever want to change the name of the designer, or you're probably not going to change your company name or your company address, but you can always just go to Tools, Project Information, Designer Information, and maybe your phone number changed or whatever. You can just change it right here, and it'll automatically change it on the templates for you. Okay? So the difference is the client is your customer and your designer is you. Okay, so now let's say we have this all the way we want it. We want to save it. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. We don't want to save it on page 0, because what's going to happen is whenever you open up that layout, or whenever you're have a drawing and you click to send to layout, it's going to want to send it to the 0 layer, which is what you don't want because it'll show up on every page. So what the best thing to do is go to page 1. And to save it, we don't just click the Save button. We go to File, Templates, and we want to save plan as templates. And I'm going to go ahead and save this in here. We want to save this in My Documents, X3 data folder, Templates, and you can just save it right in here. I wouldn't put it in the X3 templates because anytime this is the Ritz-Craft stuff, if you would happen to download a new version, you know, maybe something's changed and you're downloading a new one, it's gonna get rid of it for you. So either put it just right in here, maybe create your own folder and put it in there. I'm just going to call this test layout. That way I know I can get rid of it later. And save. Now we can close this down and go to our preferences, new plans, and under layout template we can browse to that location, which should be, as long as you saved it in My Documents, X3 Data, Templates, right there it is. Anytime we send a plan to a layout, it will use that. Or anytime we go to File and New Layout, it will open that one up. Also, if I have a plan open, I don't have any layouts open, if I go to send that plan to a layout, first of all, it's going to tell me I need to make sure I have my plan saved, which I don't. This is just a template that I opened up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just save this to my, I'm going to save this to a temporary folder that I have set up. But you would want to, for every, if you're going to do the layouts, which obviously you guys are taking the class, so I assume you are, you want to create a folder for each customer. And what you want to do is you want to put that plan file, which is your drawing, and your layout file in the same folder. That's very important because what happens is these are linked together, and I'll show you that here in a minute. So I'm just going to put it in my temporary folder for now. And I'll say test plan 1. Okay, so now it tells me no layout file was found. That's because I don't have a layout file open. If I had a layout file open, it would automatically send it to that one. But I'm going to say I'm going to create a new layout, and what's going to happen is it's going to open up that one I have by default. Okay, now this gets on to the second part of layouts. What do we send to the layout page, and how do we send it? In this case, since I'm sending the floor plan, I want to send the entire plan, and here I can scale it. And I'm going to upscale it just so you can see what it does. And I can also select the page that I want it to go to. If I have a layout open already, it's going to send it to the page that I have, the page that I'm currently on in the layout, unless I change it here. So if I say OK, there it sent my plan, but you can see it's too big for the page. Okay, well that's not a problem. I can click on my plan, and down in my edit bar I can say rescale. Now you saw I changed it to 3/8 when I sent it. Let's try 1/4. Okay, that one's a little better. It looks like it fits. And as I use these, when I use these grips here, it doesn't actually resize the plan. It'll actually cut it off. So maybe I just want a zoomed in part of the kitchen. I can actually just, now obviously I don't have a kitchen here, but I could scale this in so you can see just that part of the plan, and maybe I can rescale it back up so it shows up larger on my page. Okay, but what's going to happen here now, as long as we have these in the same folder, which they are, because if you don't have a layout open and you just send the plan to the layout, it automatically creates it in that same folder that your plan is saved already. If you open up the layout individually, you're going to have to save it into that folder. So let me throw in a couple cabinets here. What I want to show you is anytime I make a change on my plan, when I go to my layout, it automatically updates it. So in other words, they're linked together. Okay? Now that is only, let me go to page 2. That is only if I send it the entire plan. Let's say I want to do an interior kitchen shot and I want to send that to my layout. Get my camera just the way I want it. You know, do my final rendering, get it to look nice. If I go ahead and send this to layout, now you notice that when I was on my layout page, I went to page 2. Okay? I'm going to go back to my camera view and I'm going to send this to layout. Now, because it's a picture, I can't send the entire plan because it just won't let me. It sends it as an image. If I say OK and send this, now I can reposition it. I can resize it using the same way I did my logo. If I grab the corner and hold X, it will resize it uniformly. Okay, but the thing with this is just an image. So this particular picture is not linked. So if I come back here to my floor plan and maybe I add some more cabinets. Okay, if I go back to my layout page, my layout, you can see it didn't update it, but it updated it here on the plan view. Okay, so there are the differences. Any questions on this? You guys always make me nervous when you don't ask questions. Okay. I'm going to leave this on page 2 on purpose, just in case you would ever happen to send a view to the wrong page. Let's say I have an exterior shot. Okay, I have my landscaping on or whatever, and I want to send this to a layout page. I'm doing it the same way. It's going to send it as an image, and you can see because my current layout page is page 2. That's what comes up. I'm going to leave that alone. I could change it, but there I just sent it. I'm like, oh, no, I didn't want that to be on that page. Well, you don't have to delete it, resend it. What you can do is select the image that you want to change page numbers. Open up your object button, go to the line style tab, and here you can change the layout page that it's going to display on. I'm going to just move it up to page 3, and there it moved it for me. So if you do send it to the wrong page, it's not the end of the world. There's an easy fix for it. The last thing you're going to probably send to layout, other than pictures like we just did there and the floor plan, is an elevation. Now there's an easy way to do all 4 elevations at once. You could sit here and do an elevation camera and send that and the whole 9 yards. A better way is go to 3D, create orthographic view, and auto elevations. Here you can do the front, back, left, right, or all of them. If I click all, there's all my elevation cameras. And the nice thing about this, it will save this camera. So now when I click on this, I can say send to layout, and it's going to want to send it as a screen as image. Well, I don't want it to be an image. I want it to be linked to my plan. So if I move a window or I do whatever, it's going to change it for me. So I want to say entire plan, and I'll probably have to scale it down a little bit. Say OK, and there is my front elevation, and I can move it around. I can go back to my plan. I can click on my right, send that one. Move that one up into position, and so on and so forth. Now, the only thing with the elevations when you do this, if I add windows or doors or whatever, or I move something, if I go to the layout page, you can see it, where's my windows. It didn't do it right away. What I have to do is, if I double click on this elevation, it takes me to that elevation camera. When I close this elevation view down, it gives me an option. Do you want to update the layout page? Obviously, yes, I do. Now, if I didn't make any changes, if I just opened that up just to see something, I could say no. But if I know I made changes, I say OK, and there it updates my elevation for me. It's not like the floor plan where it's immediate. In other words, if I open this, scroll up to where you can see the front of the house. Let me go ahead and change the scale of this. If I open this view back up so that you can see everything, you can see the windows are there. Okay, so this is pretty much automatic. When you go to the elevations, you'll have to, when you go to close it down, you have to make sure it says it updates it. The only difference. Okay, now the last thing I want to show you is how to save the camera. Let's say you did your camera and you got your kitchen or whatever you're taking a picture of, and you got it just the way you want it. Okay, let's get it. Let's say this is the angle. This is the shot I want. You can save this view without sending it to the layout, which is real useful. You don't have to keep recreating the same. You don't have to keep redoing the camera over and over and over and over again. If we come here to our Edit Active Camera, right here under Camera Name, let's just rename it Kitchen. Say this is our kitchen shot. We can say OK. Now it's going to save that camera for us. Okay, and if I close this down, right there it is. Now, a lot of times that layer may get turned off, which it's camera inactive. A lot of times you'll want it off because if you have a lot of cameras in here, it just jumbles up your floor plan. Okay, now you might say, well, how do I get back to that camera view without turning that camera back on? Well, if you go open up your library, and I don't know if anybody ever noticed this, but there's also a project browser tab. And what this shows is every plan and every, well, it'll only be one layout because you can only ever have one layout open. But every plan that you have open, it'll show. And you can see here's saved cameras. There's the one we created for the kitchen. Here's the saved cross sections, which are the ones we had Chief do automatically for us. But we can go to any one of these views simply by clicking on it, and it'll open that camera back up for us. So it's real convenient. Once you get the shot that you want, you can save that camera and you don't have to keep resetting it. Okay. Nobody has any questions. That's about all I have today for layouts. Anybody have any questions? Okay, well, thank you all for attending. Again, I will burn this to a CD and make sure everybody that attended will mail it out for everybody that wants one. Again, feel free to call me if you have any questions, and you guys all have a good holiday this weekend.